Shalom Aleichem. Good evening, ladies and gentlemen, brothers and sisters, you who are Christian, you who are Muslim, Orthodox, Jews, or Messianic Hebrews, according to the Spirit. Today I'm going to speak on the oneness of Elohim. It's very important that this message go forth. I know that now. Sometimes I avoid it because the conversations I get into concerning the oneness of Elohim become very, very ugly, stupid, infantile. Because in the Constantine era, it was developed that the Elohim, Yahuwah, was one Elohim, represented in three persons. See, to me, three does not equate to one. Especially when you put the word person. A person is a distinct entity with its own volition. And when you use the word person in designating the ideal of the trias of Elohim, you falsify the whole ideal. Yahuwah is one, but he manifests in two different means from his eternal substance. But these manifestations are not distinct from Yahuwah. They are one with him. This is shown in early Messianic Hebrew history, that the early apostles and those who were students of the apostles' teachings from the Spirit never had a concept of three persons when they spoke of the triad of the Elohim. I'm going to show you that the oneness of Elohim is one of the most important doctrines, because when we separate the deity into three persons, we actually blaspheme the holiness and the perfection of the deity. In the Hebrew scriptures in Genesis 1:1, where it says, Bereshit bara Elohim, with the beginning manifested Elohim. This term Bereshit, meaning in, the Beth, the prefix before the word Rashit, means in or with. Rashit, meaning the beginning, the cause, or the source, the point of beginning, is used in a way in the scriptures that must be defined out of the context of time. You see, Yahuwah doesn't dwell in the realm of time. Time is only a phenomenon of movement. The earth revolving around the sun creates time. Yahuwah doesn't revolve around anything. He is beyond time. He is absolute in his existence. He is the causality of all things that exist. So when it says Rashit, beginning, and you add the prefix Bereshit, I use the word with the beginning, bara. Bara has a more emphatic meaning than just the word create. It means to manifest, to architect, to build and construct. So with the beginning, the source and the cause of all life, this eternal source, manifested, came forth, came into being, the Elohim. This signifies Yahuwah brought forth from himself a form of himself by which he could express himself. Before then, we could say that Yahuwah, the beginning, was in a subjective state, inactive. Only within himself was there activity. And there was a point in eternity where he manifested from himself a form of himself called the Elohim. Do we understand that the beginning, according to the book of Revelation, according to the prophecies of Yeshayahu, Isaiah, designate the beginning as Yahuwah and not as a point of time? This is shown in the book of Revelation where it says, I am the Alpha and Omega, the beginning, Roshan, from Rashit, the Ake in the Greek, the source, the causality. I am the beginning and the end. You will find this in Revelations 1 verse 8. Understanding this, we understand that the infinite eternal source manifested the divine form from itself with all the divine potency that existed in the causality, the divine substance and form remaining in oneness even as the body remains one with the soul. Thus, in this verse, the Elohim is called also in Revelation the Lamb. Why? It is because the Lamb is also symbolic of the divine nature of Yahuwah. The Elohim form is pure, divine truth. Yet the truth of Yahweh is the containment of the divine nature and the expression of its character and power. As the light of the sun carries the heat of the sun, the light is a manifestation of the heat. We know that light that carries no heat, as in winter, produces no light. Yet, when the light is united with heat, it produces life in the earth. Thus, the Elohim form is the light form that radiates the nature into man, by which they who are obedient to the divine law, the Torah, the commandments, the mitzvot, they who are obedient to the divine Torah in spirit and from the spirit, are able to receive the divine nature in its fullness, until they are no longer men in the flesh, but rather an Elohim of the spirit. This is shown, this unity between substance and form, divine substance and form, the beginning and that which manifested from the beginning. This is shown in the historical writings of Tertullian, 2nd century A.D. Tertullian was a great theologian of the Messianic faith. He was an African from Carthage, and he wrote a book of apologetics. He also wrote a book of ethics that many people today in this promiscuous society should read, who think that the Christian religion or the doctrine of Mashiach was a doctrine of allowance and based upon a vicarious sacrifice that says you don't have to attain righteousness. It is given to you freely without obedience. This is error, and we spoke on this before. But it is shown in the historical writings of Tertullian of Carthage, where it says, we have been taught that he, Yeshua, proceeds from the El, whom Christians would use the word God. And in that procession, he is generated. Generated subsequently could mean manifested, or do mean manifested. So that he is son of El and is called Elohim from unity of substance with El. That means he is united as one to the divine causality, or which Tertullian called substance, with El, that is Yahuwah. Even when the light is shot from the sun, it is still part of the parent mass. The sun still be in the ray. That is, the heat is still in the light. Because it is a ray of the sun, there is no distinction of substance, but merely an extension. Thus, Mashiach is spirit of spirit and Elohim of El, as light of light is kindled, so too that which comes out of El is at once Elohim, and the son of El, and the two are one. 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 He did not separate from the original source, but went forth as a ray of El, as it has always been foretold in ancient times. This teaching of truth is the teachings of the early assembly, the 2nd century assembly, concerning the oneness of Elohim and the relationship between Father and Son, Yahuwah and Elohim, and the manifestation of the divine word from him, which word is the vehicle of the divine causality or source, the substance, the Rashit, the beginning, in all its potency of divine nature, also called the Lamb. Yachanan the Immerser introduced the Mashiach to the nation of Israel as the Lamb of El. Now, through his death and resurrection, he has ascended from the flesh back to the glory of the Father, Yahweh. He is the medium source of life from the Father given to man. But he is not separate from the Father. He is united to the divine substance as the soul is united to the body in man. And the people who receive this life and remain in reception to this life through obedience to the commandments are, on account of this continued reception, they are developed unto fullness. So we must look at this doctrine of three divine persons. I just call it polytheism, the belief in more than one El. Paganism. Yahuwah Akkad. Yahuwah is one. That's the basis on which we must look at Father, Son, and Holy Spirit. You see, we can't develop a doctrine based upon the fact that there is an identification of three manifestations of Yahuwah. There is a trias or a triad existence of Elohim, but each component is united to the other, not separated into three distinct persons. This is polytheism, paganism, blasphemy against the divine nature. Yeshua himself, trying to give understanding